tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, welcome, guys. It's the SVU AfterBuzz After Show here on AfterBuzz. I'm so excited. We're back. If you have not already, go to youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Hit subscribe. Join us live in the chat roll. That's right. We're live right now. You can be conversing with us. I speak English. We're also we're also on iTunes. So hit subscribe there. We're on SoundCloud. Tweet at us during the show using the hashtag ABTVSVU. I'm your host, Yael Tygiel. You can tweet at me during the show at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I'm so excited to be back with my lovely panel, Lauren.
Hello. I am so excited, you guys. This music is just giving me
it's so good.
big feels right now.
Yeah.
Yes. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun.
Yeah, welcome back, Lauren Salaun Ward.
Welcome back yourself.
All right.
Vacationer.
And Isabella Du is in the house.
Oh, hey. What's up, everybody? I'm Isabella Du. You guys can find me on Twitter at Isabella Du.
Awesome. We're going to jump into our 2-hour season premiere. Guys, 17 seasons.
Man.
So impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know.
And you know what? I honestly think it's going to keep going.
Of course it's going to keep going.
No, like for a lot, like my grandkids will probably.
Oh, yeah. Well, because when they run out of stories, which they never will, I have stories to suggest.
Yes.
Like
we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
How we get in there somewhere to SVU and let them know.
Because, like, you know, what happens is that people are always like, what kind of freaks come up with these stories? And I'm like, me.
Yeah.
I have ideas.
It's a collaboration between several freaks. So
Freaks to
Yeah.
Freaks doing it in real life. Freaks with weird imagination.
There's no shortage of us.
It's okay. Hey, I'm right here with you.
Awesome. So this season, I think I want to blame Chicago Fire and PD because the show has changed a little bit in its tone and its direction. What do you guys think about the fact that we're now getting more, not backstory or like stuff happening with the characters as opposed to just there's a crime this week and we're going to deal with it?
I like it a bit. I like that we get that depth with the characters. I think sometimes it is a little too much and it takes you away from like the juicy crime that's going on. You're like, oh, this is just kind of fluff. And I get that they want us to, know more about these characters, but sometimes you just want the action.
Yeah.
But I like it.
I love the backstories. No, I really do. And I love that it kind of flows in between, but I think it should be more consistent because sometimes they'll have some episodes where they don't talk about at all, and then all of a sudden they like really reel you in. They'll have a whole episode dedicated to Amaro or Wallace, and then all of a sudden nobody, and you're like, what happened? Like, where do they go? Or so. But I do love that they give you all these different shades of them, and it makes them more human. Because think about these people do this every single day. I mean, if we didn't see the backstory, you would think sometimes they're really cold and callous.
I guess.
Yael hates it.
Yeah,
she's like, Baby Noah made an appearance. Ugh.
Yeah, I
thought about you when I saw him on the screen. I was like,
I'm not a fan of Baby Noah. Yael loved it. But I think that Baby Noah is literally like in contract to like must be seen once per episode. Or like once every other episode.
Possibly, because it was pretty unnecessary.
It was 100%
and it was about
unnecessary.
2 seconds worth.
See you later, Noah. Great. He shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Oh, right. Lives a mom.
I bet the thing
I forgot.
What I like about introducing Baby Noah is the fact that, because Liv has always wanted this relationship with Stabler, and she never got that. Work was her baby. So I like that she has a different baby, and it's all about this work-life balance that a lot of women have to deal with. So that's kind of interesting to see. But I don't like how she just hands off Noah to the nanny all the time. I would like to see more of a relationship. I mean, if you're gonna have, I totally agree. Where if you're gonna have the baby, give the lady a relationship to the baby. Otherwise, she's just a nanny and then bye. Like, I'm
gonna say something awful. We almost killed Baby Noah twice last season, right? Like it was the smallpox or something,
Yeah,
some disease
yeah.
outbreak where baby Noah almost died, and then like the lungs issue. I was like, great, let's get rid of this
Yeah.
baby. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm an awful person.
I know. Well, my fear is that it's going to pull, which we talked about last season, that's going to pull Liv away, and then she's going to leave us.
No.
So
Let's
that's
not go
that's the big
anywhere.
fear.
No.
I don't think so, but like fingers crossed.
But the more we see Noah and her, and now with the whole, and we'll talk about Rollins because I have a lot of problems with that. But with that whole situation, I think, and we talked about it last season as well, is that they're setting up Rollins to become the new Olivia. Which means Olivia is going to become the new Kragan, which means we're going to see a lot less of her, which I'm not okay with.
yeah.
I feel like we've already kind of seen less of her at certain points, and I cringe at that because I feel like she's such a staple for the show. She has so much empathy, and even though the other people have empathy, they don't have it the way she does.
Yeah, they're no Benson.
They're no Benson. And you know, my issue is with Carisi. No, I mean, because if you're gonna have backstories with everybody else, and
we'll get his story.
Yeah, we don't really know much about him.
Sonny Carisi.
He rubs me the wrong way still.
Still?
He's such a
Yeah,
little
he rubs me
dork.
the wrong way.
Yeah, he got
still.
rid of the mustache, and I was like, no, Carisi, and now I'm like, I like Carisi. I hate Carisi.
I mean, he's gotten more likable,
Yeah.
but it's not, again, not enough of a backstory for me to be like, oh, okay, I like you. I get why you're like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to like my characters. And if there's something that I don't like about them, I want them to explain themselves.
Yeah.
Like, why are you like that?
I want to either like
me
him or
like
hate him.
you.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
I want to like you or hate you.
Yeah.
And Carisi is like
He's kind of here to stay, so I kind of have to like him at one point.
like make us like him.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Let's jump into this plot because we have the return of Dr. Yates.
Real quick before we dive in.
Thank you. This is what you're here for.
This is what I'm
Guys,
here for.
before we begin, thank you. Seriously, you got to remember this. Go.
We want to give you guys a hotline for RAIN. That's the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, because unfortunately the stuff that we're talking about, some stuff like this happens in real life. So if anything like, going on with you or someone you know, it's 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-HOPE.
Awesome. And of course, as you guys know, we're about to talk about really serious things. And sometimes when it gets this dark, you gotta make an awful inappropriate joke. And so we apologize ahead of time. We will make mostly me. I will make inappropriate jokes.
Lighten it up a little.
Yeah, because you gotta find the levity in it, or it's a depressing show. So if you have a problem with that, feel free to email us and let us know. But we're warning you. All right, let's jump in. Thank you. This is why you're here. I can't do
I got
without
your
you.
back. I got your back.
You never let to get married again.
I won't.
Okay. So we get Dallas Roberts, who's back, who I can't stand him because he looks like John Ritter.
He looks like John. We already talked about this. John Ritter and John Cryer had a baby, and it
so
became
sad.
Dallas Roberts.
I'm so
creepy.
sad.
John Ritter, John Cryer.
It's terrifying because I'm like, I miss John Ritter.
Okay, I kind of liked him in
This
this
episode?
episode, which I
Yeah.
feel like. I mean, did anyone else?
Yeah, no,
Because-
he's less scary.
He's less creepy. I mean,
I think because he's gotten on a more personal level that we're seeing, like with Amanda, and he's showing different side. I mean, he kind of has to at this point.
Right.
Well, he's
He can't be
so
murdering
creepy and so crazy,
Yeah.
and like no getting past that for sure. But I think he does such a good job playing this role and makes you have these moments where he's really endearing, almost like he's like, oh well, my child, all this stuff, and you're like,
He's playing you.
but then
playing you.
you're like, oh, but bummer, dude.
No.
Or maybe I'm just a sociopath. Just kidding.
I like that we're silent. Okay, so we find a body, and we're reminded about this whole. He was from the Chicago PD, the like well done crossover,
Yes.
which was like the first time that SVU has accomplished a well done crossover. Which, guys,
Will probably happen more, I think.
we're proud of the way they did it this last
Yeah.
time. So he, remember, took Nadia from Chicago PD, who SVU fans didn't care about, but Chicago PD fans did. He likes to pick random brunettes. So we're not terrified on this panel or nothing.
I'm good.
He tortures, kills them. He either burns or buries them. There was a burial ground with 9 bodies. We found this new body. This new body is someone in their late 20s. They have a fractured skull, which is consistent with his
But she was a
victims.
ginger.
But she was a ginger,
She's a ginger.
Yep.
which he has no
He's
interest.
like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He
he's like-
definitely expresses distaste
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
disdain.
he knows what he likes.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're offending me. This is blasphemy.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Exactly. This girl was raped. Her arm was severed at the surgically at the shoulder, and then we later discovered that it was severed while she was still alive. And we get this mistake of Brooke Groves, who we thought it was, but no, it was her twin sister, Rachel Groves.
I love whenever they pull the twin thing, like,
Yeah.
and twist, it's her twin. You're like, oh. I've seen that so many times, actually.
Because of one episode of SVU, I never trust twins, especially twin girls. I want to say it was season 1 or 2, where one of the I'm so weird. One of the women, so they find a body buried in the ground with a dog collar and some other like sexy toys, and what?
Dog collar and other sexy toys.
This is the second time we've heard about it.
Yeah, sexy toys. So, and then it's discovered that the woman's twin took over her life and is with the husband and raising the kid. Don't you remember this from season? It's the two.
This sounds familiar.
Yeah, two like Russian sisters. Anyway, so every time we have female twins now, I'm like, she took over the place. Yeah. Like that's what happened is they switched places. I never trust them now. Yeah, we have twins here at AfterBuzz. I don't trust them either.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, so we then get taken into this whole world of a Dr. Rudnick.
You didn't even say about what else they have.
Oh yeah, there was a like weird coincidence that the body had nails that were just like painted green. Guys, I painted my nails green for those listening on iTunes.
I had my nails green last week. I should have left them a few
and
days longer.
And I never had mine green. I wonder for shadow anything.
Like, hey Yates, where are you?
I'm a brunette. I have green nails. No. All right. Yes, that happened.
I just
good,
had to
good call.
Give you the nails a little shout out.
Yeah. I meant to do it. I think we meant to do it last time, but we totally forgot. So we get thrown into this world of Dr. Rudnick, who is our new Emmy. Do you guys even remember seeing him?
Yes.
Okay.
I do, from last season finale.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in the season finale, and because I decided to rewatch.
I've seen him more.
I think he has been on there more, but he's freshest in my mind from the finale because I was like, I'm gonna rewatch the finale from last season just to kind of get myself. And I was like, oh, there he is again.
Yeah.
And he was still kind of creepy, but obviously that wasn't played up yet.
Yeah. Well, he's super he's like an eccentric guy, so he's a weirdo, but some weirdos aren't serial killers.
Yeah, right. Some weirdos. We're not serial killers. Do you think they planned ahead of time that they were going to have this?
I think they always do.
You think they did?
Oh, yeah. I feel like they always bring in these characters and they know when they're going to,
they're going to make him a serial killer?
I actually wrote this down. Do you guys remember...
I'm so excited.
Dale Stuckey?
Yeah, of course I remember Stuckey.
They did that with him.
That was obvious.
No, he was in there a couple episodes even beforehand.
That was the episode. There was a marathon on a few days ago, and that was the episode I watched.
Yeah, I know.
So
he was on there like a couple episodes beforehand, so he's already been inserted.
But I believe that Stuckey was on purpose. I believe they brought Stuckey in the first time, made him really annoying, and decided going in, he's going to be really annoying, and then it'll turn out in the end that he's a killer.
Yeah, because he was way too obnoxious and in your face.
So your theory is Rudnick was never meant to...
Yeah, I think that it was... I think this was that they decided over the summer.
On the fly. They're like,
this would be great.
Hey, this would be good.
That said... We also were brought up this whole story about how he was promoted over Melinda and they brought him in from somewhere else. And all I could think was like, where's Melinda?
I miss her.
Melinda's the best.
She's like the Benson version of like the Emmys.
Oh yeah. I would watch her spinoff.
Yeah. I don't know if it would carry that much weight on its own though.
Yeah, it would be like a Crossing Jordan show, which was I think about Emmys. People are gonna be like, that's not what that show was about. I didn't watch it. Anyway, so we have Carl Rudnick, who is a creeper. And then we get this whole connection where they went to medical school and there's this we get taken to a townhouse that turns out to be owned by Rudnick's great aunt,
and he didn't catch it right away.
Right, of course not. And we have this great scene where Barba and Benson are not interrogating, but discussing with him,
looking for some advice and feedback on the case.
It just happens to all be recorded.
Yeah.
And then we get this whole chase scene where he dresses up as women. Okay, so let me ask you this: when we saw Rachel in the video camera leaving with a woman,
When we saw Rachel leave with the camera.
On video, leaving the shelter with the woman.
Oh, yes. And he's dressed as a woman.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. Like, that's not
That's
her
not
mother.
a woman.
Yeah.
So Rollins goes, well, that's obviously not Yates. And that's when I went, that's obviously a man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's obviously not Yates, sure.
But it's some other dude.
It's a dude. That is no female.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Like, what? You are female. How do you not see this?
Yeah.
But this was based on the real dude.
Yes.
Robert Durst.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will get to in a minute.
Oh my gosh.
So I just want to real quick wrap up the story. We find out there's this other woman who's missing, Lena Grunwald, who was at school with them. And she's the body in the wall. So creepy. Not the first time that people... Who like thinks about, you know what, I'm going to get rid of people.
Yeah.
Let's put them in the walls.
I think someone's just staring at the wall for so long. They're like, writer's block.
We'll just put them in the wall.
But if
Yeah.
you think about it, no one's going to rip that wall apart unless you're remodeling your house or like a dog sniffs a body.
But like, people remodel their house all the time.
It looks like a new wall. Why would you remodel that, though?
Because there used to be a fireplace. If I were in that house, I was like, oh, I wish I would have had a fireplace. You know what? There used to be one here. Let's cut a hole.
Why don't you do that for every house, then?
Every house. I think if you're gonna, like, I think that this could sound awful. Yates had the right idea. Like, you burn or bury it in a dumping ground, or water is always the best way, which is what we did with Rachel.
If I'm killing
I
someone,
did think that was
get rid of everything. Don't hide it somewhere where someone can find
You
it.
set it on fire, then put it in the water. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was inconsistent, though, because here's a body in the house. It's the only body that was in the house, as opposed to all the other bodies.
right.
I think toward the end, don't they say that he made a mistake with
that was
her?
it was
Yeah,
the first one.
she was the
Yeah,
first
she was
one.
the first one.
That's
He
right.
made a mistake. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
He puts it
Which
in the
is
wall.
how, because he's an idiot. That's how he got caught. Susie dies. I didn't like Susie to begin with. Susie was pregnant. We'll talk about Rollins' pregnancy, guys. Calm down. That's the story. That's the story. They're both in jail together. That's basically the plot.
2 hours in that.
I'll tell you this. Had we taken out all of the... I may have said this. Had we taken out all this, like, Rollins checking her pregnancy test BS... and her getting a soda from the machine and her vomiting a few times, take all that out, we could have made this one episode.
Hear that, guys?
I mean, I don't think we needed the pregnancy test, but I like the sniffing thing. Like how...
You like that he sniffed her?
It's so weird.
No,
He's
okay,
like-
so I looked this up because you know how Carisi and then also Yates were like, I can smell it off you.
Right.
You smell different. And I was thinking, why would Carisi know that? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He had a sister who was pregnant.
Oh, that's right.
Remember? And so I was looking, okay.
I mean, people do smell differently.
People do smell differently, but
Girl,
men...
you're going to come in one day,
noticeable?
and I'm
Yes.
going to be like, oh, God, Lauren, why?
I looked up a poll,
Yeah.
and men really do smell a difference with their wives or girlfriends when they're pregnant. It's
like in a good way?
I think so. Probably. You're carrying my
different.
baby.
It's
I
different.
smell it.
It's pheromones,
Gross.
so it's more attractive, I guess. It's to know like this is
she
your
can
mate.
make babies.
She can make my babies.
Marry her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby her.
Well, before we move into where this story was ripped from the headlines, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. We're so happy to be back. We have missed you all summer. I've been tweeting every time I sit down to watch a marathon, and that's a lot. Thank you, USA Network. We clearly are huge fans of the show, and we couldn't do this without you guys. What we ask you to do is very simple. Go to iTunes, hit subscribe. That way you know there's a new episode, and make sure that you leave us a comment. If you like us, which I'm sure you do because you've made it this far, leave us a 5-star review. Write down what we're doing well, what we could be doing better. If you don't like us, you can give us a 4-star review. Fun fact, the other stars don't work, so don't even bother. Yeah, we tested it for you. They don't work. Skip them.
Yeah, just tweet us your suggested changes. And
Yeah, but write us a comment. Be like, you're amazing. You're also creepy. We will take it.
You're also creepy.
I will take that.
We'll read those.
Yeah, and that's what we will do here for you is
I think we just
starting next
opened
week.
a can of worms.
We did not. We will read your reviews live on the air. You get a shout out. Only shout outs to people who write reviews. You hear that, Twitterverse? I'll probably give you shout outs too. Whatever. The point is, we want to hear from you because we appreciate you guys. So, Lauren, you pointed something out.
You guys.
This was ripped from the headlines.
Yes, very much ripped from the headlines from the Robert Durst case.
What?
Which if you like true crime stuff, this was very much based on The Jinx, which was on HBO 6 months ago or something, and I actually covered that at AfterBuzz, so we've got those recaps that you can watch. It is so good. And just all the parallels with it were crazy to
Tell
watch.
us.
So, a lot of similarities. So, The Jinx was directed and written by Andrew Jarecki, who also directed the movie All Good Things, which is a fiction film based on Durst as well. Gosling's in it, and Kirsten Dunst.
I must
see that.
must watch.
It was
now.
okay, but based
I
on,
did see that.
when it's an okay movie, but when you watch it knowing what it's based on, it's so much more interesting.
Yeah.
So, a lot of similarities with our SVU episode and the Robert Durst real life case situation. So Durst is from a billionaire family, so he has that tons of money, doesn't have to work.
Rudnick is Durst.
Yes.
Okay.
Rudnick is based on Robert Durst.
Okay.
He is an eccentric guy.
Does he talk to himself a lot?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting to it. So
Okay.
in 2001, Durst was charged with charged with murder because he dismembered and buried or threw in the bay, down in Galveston, Texas, the body of his neighbor and friend, Morris Black, 2001. And he claimed self-defense. It was only the two of them in their apartment, claimed self-defense that he attacked him, and so he shot him. And then he was like, well, people already suspected me for killing my wife, Kathy, several years ago, which is also true. They never found Kathy's body. So he's like, people already don't like me. I'm high-profile family and all this stuff. So I just assumed no one would believe me, and I panicked. So I chopped up his body into tiny pieces and then threw it into the ocean.
The logic.
Yes, right?
The logic.
And so this is true.
Dexter.
And that happened.
Yeah.
And they, so they go into court and they're like, oh, we got this. This guy is crazy. He's already admitted to getting in this self-defense, getting into a fight and killing him and then chopping up the body. So great. They couldn't find the head, which is the missing thigh from the episode.
The missing thigh.
And and they end up losing the case because they put enough. They're like, he's obviously dismembering a body and hiding it in the ocean. That's not cool and that's illegal, but we can't prove that he murdered him. So he got away with that one.
Which was an issue in here that they kept bringing up in the court.
Yes.
That they're when
every time they kept talking about the dismemberment,
they wanted to show
they
the
would
pictures.
show the babies, the bodies they would turn off.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're like, we're not talking, you're trying to confuse them. That stuff happened after. It's not relevant.
But how's that make any sense? Because
well, so when you're trying to charge someone for one crime and not another crime, they're separate.
So these are two separate crimes of dismembering,
yes,
and then the killing. But don't you think those things go hand in hand?
No. So he's being charged with dismembering, and he was being charged with the illegal disposal of a body.
Yes. So that's what he did and admitted to, and what he got. But they didn't get him for murder, which, I mean. And if anyone watched the after show, we talked about that where we're like, I don't based on the evidence, if it is you and another person in a room and only you make it out, they only, if ballistics is not and the evidence isn't telling the story, you can't
reasonable doubt.
There's no word against someone else's. So other similarities. So there were even quotes that I'm all over the place.
But we're so interesting.
Really quick, did he have medical expertise?
Durst,
because you know how Rudnick did,
right? Because he was
but his wife that disappeared, that he's also suspected of killing, but never charged with because they never found her body,
right?
Which she could have been the person buried in the wall. That idea was kind of where that connection goes. She was in medical school, so he knew about a lot of that stuff. And he would use terminology that medical students and doctors would use more than what a normal person would use. So. Where was I going with that? But even some of the quotes. So in The Jinx, they're showing footage from the court cases and stuff, and then he's being interviewed by the director for the majority of the show, for the the mini series, docuseries, and so many of the quotes even are exactly the same as what they put into the SVU episode.
Please read.
It was so gnarly. I don't have them right now, but even where he was saying, well, it just seemed suspicious, him dressing as a woman to escape. He was like, well, I just felt like I would be under the radar more. Like, just little things that they were exactly like word for word stuff that Durst said.
This isn't the first time that SVU does that. If we look back to the one they had with Holden, which was the Isla Vista killer. They had him in his YouTube videos quoting the Isla Vista killer. Yeah. They love to like literally be like, you said this? That's great.
They paraphrase.
Yeah.
So his YouTube channel's still on, by the way.
Oh, that's creepy.
It's really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that Rudnick said that I thought was hilarious that he said, and I kind of hope that the real guy said this, was he's all like,
it's awful. Go on.
He's like, I knew that they were looking for Carl, not Carla.
Yeah.
I was like,
no, that he says something like that. When I watched it, I was like, oh yeah. He's like, they were looking for Robert Durst, so I had to not be Robert Durst.
Right.
That's
Roberta.
what he says.
Roberta.
Yeah. I don't know the name that it wasn't Roberta. I forget what the name was.
But it's very similar to earlier when they were talking about how he could put on a disguise and use the
passport.
The passport in a post 9/11 world, and they were like, no one's looking for a redheaded Swedish girl. Mm-hmm. Which is true, because
Very
after
true.
a certain point during airport random selections, after they stopped profiling people, they started looking for single women.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes. Especially Middle Eastern single women.
Okay.
But yeah, because I randomly selected with a handful of other Middle Easterners. I was like, this seems odd.
They always actually stopped me for the whole I didn't know what it was at first.
The swab.
The swabs.
I get stopped all the time for that.
Do you have guns at home?
No, I always pass. I'm here today.
Okay. My protein powder on our honeymoon got really investigated hardcore.
Get out.
You would. Moving on.
I know. Yeah.
The
so
jinx,
the last
guys.
thing about the jinx really. So we saw with the SVU episode that he, gives this kind of spontaneous confession toward the end.
Yeah, to himself.
Yeah, to himself. And that happened when Liv, when they were questioning him initially, and he knew he was being recorded, and he just kind of blurts this out, like, oh, you should have done this. You're going to get caught, like all that sort of thing. And then they are able to use that in court. So in the Robert Durst situation, in the jinx, it doesn't happen in the whole court situation. It happens while they're filming the jinx. So they're like, the director is like pressing into Durst with these questions, and they actually find, like, over the course of the show, they have, it's investigative filmmaking and journalism, and so they find additional evidence that hadn't been found before, and like they throw it in his face, and it's like, the big shocker at the end, and you can tell Durst is kind of caught off guard, and the crew leaves and stuff, and the camera's still rolling. He has his mic on, and he's like mumbles stuff. He goes to the bathroom, and he starts saying, he's like, well, you did it now, you're caught, like they know.
Oh, that's just
like
like
you should have
what
you should have gotten rid of the body. Like, what's gonna happen? You're gonna go to jail. And they're like, well, what did you do? You killed them all, duh. Like, oh, it's so nuts. Which, these sorts of things, you don't know if he's just playing out a scenario, back and forth in his head,
Did
devil's
they ever
advocate
determine,
thing.
like, if he was
sane,
if he had psychosis?
They determined that he. Well, I know he's on the autism spectrum somehow.
Obviously.
Oh, that's right. I think he had Asperger's.
Yes, he has Asperger's, but I don't think he had other stuff going on, because there are points where he is incredibly coherent. Like, it's a fine line between being very logical, but then also like, if you are not crazy, why are you doing this right now?
Because if you're kind of murmuring to yourself and you're saying these complete sentences of why did you do that? Why didn't you? That feels like something like you're talking to a possible other
voice.
But he could also be playing Jarecki, the director, who's questioning, like, well, why'd you do that? Oh, well, I killed him. Being a sarcastic too. So it's nothing conclusive, but it's very suspicious. And fun fact, a day before the finale of the jinx, Durst was arrested for first degree murder of his old best friend, Susan Berman. So it is nuts. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's very interesting. Some real life SVU stuff for you.
I love real SVU stuff. All right, we're going to shift gears and talk about a more pleasant thing, I guess. Let's talk about Rollin's baby.
Yay. Baby
guys,
season.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Giddish, what's her name? Kelly Giddish, the actress, is actually pregnant.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thus,
I didn't actually.
yeah.
Apparently, everybody on that show was like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Ice-T's
Right.
wife is pregnant.
Yes. Which I would like people to notice this also, because Ice-T was wearing his wedding ring this entire 2 episodes, and all I could think was, Finn's not married. Like,
Oh no.
guys, where's your costuming
Oh
department?
no. Was he? I didn't even notice that.
I did. The scene where he and Rollins are bothering Yates. He's like standing in the background fiddling with his ring, and it got real annoying.
That's hilarious.
So
That
either
needs to be put in IMDb
goofs, yeah, for sure.
That's hilarious.
So,
oh gosh.
Kelly Giddish is pregnant with her real-life husband, Lawrence Fallborn. And the showrunner, Warren Leight, decided that he did not want to hide this. He wanted to address the reality of what happens when a working detective finds herself pregnant.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
They're trying to really tap into these working moms demographic, huh?
Seriously. And they have confirmed, even though she said it like 15 times, which I refuse to believe, Amaro is not the baby's
I
father.
felt she said it so many times. Like,
I think that's a
get
lie.
it, you guys.
I think
So-
that's a lie.
Yeah, what do you think?
Right. I
think it's a lie?
have the answers.
Oh,
Guys.
The real answer.
Yeah.
true answers.
Yes.
Like,
Not okay. Let me finish,
Who said it?
girl. Okay, so Amaro is not the father.
this ruins the fantasy.
I know. I was
A lot.
real
Yeah,
pissed because all I could think was like,
This ruins that.
this makes it so much more interesting that he now has 3 baby mamas.
Or poor Amaro.
Whatever.
Gosh.
Screw Amaro. So Amaro is not the father. They decided they don't want to have him have 3 baby mamas.
Yeah.
Kelly got the option to choose who the father was going to be
No
of the 3
way.
options. And she chose, so she knows who it is, and she chose him. And she specifically chose it not to be Amaro. The father will be revealed soon, within the first few episodes. So guys, we don't have to wait too long. And it's going to bring Benson and Rollins closer together, obviously, because blah, blah.
no, you can't skip over that.
No, because like...
There needs to be more
Sorry.
girls. There needs to be more girls, and I love that they're giving this common bond to them because it's nice to see. I think the way Amanda's going to do it is completely different from how Benson's doing. Because think about it,
Yeah.
Benson has more stability. She's very level-headed, as opposed to Rollins, who has a gambling addiction still.
Right.
She's always drinking. So I'm kind of curious to see like how she's going to be able to balance work and life when Olivia's already struggling with that.
Yeah. So I can tweet out a link if you guys want. Those are just the 6 things to know about her baby.
Who do we have any ideas of?
So they said that we've been introduced to 2 exes of hers already.
Yeah.
And that it's one of those, I believe. So
That detective guy.
her like old boss?
Yeah.
No, it's not her old boss because that guy assaulted her.
Well, it
That
could
said,
be.
what I really want them to do is bring a married woman detective whose husband isn't dead.
Yeah,
whose
like
husband
someone
is,
with
like somebody who's able to do it. Because that seems to not be a thing in this squad room.
Yeah, a more traditional family setting, just to like
We
see
used
what
to
they do
mix
with
it
that.
up.
Well, like we used to have, right? We had Stabler, who was the like father.
Yeah.
The family
He
figure.
was the family man, and we don't have a family person anymore.
No.
All
True.
right. I also have a really fun thing because we usually do real SVU news here, but I got real disgusted over the summer collecting Cosby updates. So I needed a break. When news comes of that, that's not more names. We will bring that up. But until then, I have a list of, I'm so excited, a list of how TV shows dealt with pregnancies.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay, so on Desperate Housewives, Marsha Cross was pregnant. She played Bree, right? The redhead. They wrote in her character's pregnancy, but it was a pregnancy hoax. They decided to write her in. On Frasier, way back in the day, if you guys remember, Jane Leeves, who played Daphne.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was pregnant, and they hid it as weight gain due to stress.
No.
And they sent her away to fat camp to deal with it when she had the baby.
Oh my god. This is Seinfeld?
No, this is
That's
Frasier.
hilarious.
On Friends, when Lisa Kudrow was pregnant,
This is my favorite.
they wrote it in as her being a surrogate for her brother's
brother's
triplets.
I loved the triplets angle.
But when Courtney Cox was pregnant, they hid it because Monica was unable to conceive.
I didn't even.
She was
No,
pregnant
she
the
was
last season.
pregnant.
Oh yeah, she was so pregnant.
I'm gonna have to rewatch
So she
that.
they actually hid that
They hid that. They decided to
gonna
hide
have to
it
rewatch
because
that.
they
No, me too.
they'd already written in that
because she
was,
looked
Yeah.
normal to me.
right. So on Gossip Girl, Kelly Rutherford, they hid that. In Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker at some point was pregnant, and they hid it with flowy dresses and then cut the season short. Way back in the day on I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball was pregnant, and they wrote it in, but never mentioned the word pregnant on air.
Why is that? Because it was too conservative.
I guess it was when I Love Lucy was on. Can't say that. Women don't do that. On Grey's Anatomy, Jessica Capshaw, who plays Arizona, or Dr. Robbins, they hid it and sent her off to Africa. On Grey's Anatomy, when Ellen Pompeo was pregnant, they hid it with camera angles. On ER, when Parminder Nagra was pregnant, they hid it behind hospital beds.
Okay.
On Parks and Rec, when Amy Poehler was pregnant, they hid it. They just ignored it.
They just like clipboard.
Yeah. On Brothers and Sisters, Rachel Griffins was hidden. On 30 Rock, Jane Krakowski was hidden with flowy dresses. On How I Met Your Mother, this one's one of my favorites. Allison Hannigan, the first pregnancy, was hidden, and at one point they explained that she had bloated from a hot dog eating contest. On the second pregnancy, they were ready, and they wrote it in because it was already planned that her character was going to get pregnant. On Bones, this happened recently. Emily Deschanel was pregnant, and they wrote it into the story. Tina Fey for 30 Rock, they delayed the show. They're like, crap, we'll wait. On Mad Men, you guys may remember this, January Jones.
She did like everything for that show. You know?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah. On Mad Men, January Jones, it was written in as her getting really fat. I don't know if you guys remember Fat Betty. That was great. And then it was revealed that she had a tumor on her thyroid, which made her fat. I love that shows are like, oh, they're pregnant. Let's just say they're fat.
Yeah.
There needs to be a separate documentary on all this and stylists involved.
Right.
Yeah.
There needs to be.
On Scandal last season, guys, Kerry Washington, it was hidden. She always wore a coat. I felt so bad.
She always
for
had
her.
like a big coat on.
And Hayden Panettiere in Nashville, it was written in.
Yeah.
Because it's a drama. And Rachel Bilson on Heart of Dixie, it was also written in. Those are some...
How about that?
Yeah. I loved the one that they did not mention, which made me really sad. On The Nanny, way back in the day, the woman who played Cece got pregnant, and they kept hiding her behind things and like made reference to how like they couldn't, because they did Broadway shows, and they were like, well, we can't cast her, that she's pregnant right now. Like, oh, we'll just hide her behind big things. And like she was like, what are you talking about? And they like moved her purse. It was great because
I would love to be able to see a show where they don't do any of those things. They just don't acknowledge it.
Well, I mean,
they just don't hide it. They don't do anything.
That was on. Hold on. It was on. I think it was Amy Poehler on Parks and Rec. They just ignored it. They just were like, we're just not going to mention that this is happening.
People are seeing it.
You notice changes, but it's like not. You know, Amy, her character wasn't wearing like really revealing or tight things. You know, she's wearing like business suits, so you have a jacket.
But I mean, they also didn't mention when Mariska was pregnant. She, like, her and Stabler had a falling out, and she's like, I'm gonna go work cyber crimes. Like that was a thing they also forgot to mention to us, that she had a baby.
I guess, I mean, I would assume that in that sort of process, the actor or actress, the actress, has some say in what's going on. I mean, depending on their character is,
I think
and what
depending
show,
on the show, the character, how long they've been there. Like Mariska's a producer now.
Yeah.
You know, she's involved.
So she's like, I really want to keep working until like, you know, the week before, like,
send me to fat camp.
They'll adjust it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it plays into the show too, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time Rollins said it wasn't Nick, I was like, so it's Nick's?
I know, girl.
I was hoping that was almost like their way of like, psych, and then Amaro comes at some point, but then I guess that would be too predictable for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's not that kind of show. It's not that drama. This is why we don't care about
want it to be Nick.
I miss Nick.
I do too, but I don't want it to be him. For his sake, and I don't think they're like that. Well, I'm not like that excited about shipping them or anything.
Right. They still talk, and like that's great and all. But remember when Stabler left and like Benson was heartbroken and didn't talk, like he wouldn't answer her call anymore. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I want. If you're gonna kick someone off like that, not kick him off because he decided to leave, whatever.
Cut it off completely.
Like cut it off and be like, no, they're fine. They left. They don't want to talk to us.
But they have said that they're leaving it open to him coming back.
Then he should be the baby's daddy.
I don't think they'll be to that extent.
Fine.
But they are. The reason why they didn't necessarily kill him off permanently is because they're open to him coming back.
I mean, they're open to Stabler coming back. He's just not open to it.
When she said something about, Liv said something like, oh, well, it's hard being a single, doing it on your own or something. And she's like, oh, well, I might not be on my own. And I was like, oh, was the dad involved? Do we know?
Is this
but
on
then
purpose?
she's like, my mom's moving down or something.
I was hoping Tucker and Olivia would.
Yeah, when is that happening?
Because there's this. It's not tension, but there's this
chemistry.
Oh yeah, there's some.
Oh yeah,
and I've always loved him from
chemistry
Gossip
there.
Girl.
Yeah,
I've always thought he's so sexy.
He's so sexy.
He's very sexy.
Also, yeah, my Spanish dandy looked good this week. Barba.
He had like a little scrub
Yeah,
going
he
on.
definitely
I was
had scrub.
Did Barbara go on another
I
trip
did
to
notice
St.
that.
Bart's?
Oh, he
or
totally
something?
did.
And he was
He's
like,
so
I have
dark.
to rush in for work.
He got real dark and scrub. I loved everything about it. He's my Spanish dandy.
I love him so much more now.
Yeah.
In the beginning, he was way too snappy and way too entitled.
Yeah.
And now he's softened up, I guess.
Well, and
I
he's
don't know.
so much more like on their team
That's-
too.
yes.
Like much less combative.
Well,
than he used to be.
on
I
that
feel like.
note, that actually leads us straight into predictions.
And now,
lights? Oh, there
your
we go.
AfterBuzz TV.
Thank you. All right, guys.
Oof, that gives me.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah,
winky.
you're welcome. In the promo for next week, we see that there's a trans kid who is murdered by another boy who says that it's peer pressure. He didn't want his friends to think he was gay. And then it seems the DA wants to take the case and charge him as an adult. We also see guest star Cindy from Orange is the New Black coming in. I know that at the end of last year, the Caitlyn Jenner thing had become huge, and they had announced they were going to do something related. This is that episode.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know if this is going to actually tie into anything Caitlyn Jenner, or just the fact that it's a trans kid.
I know. I'm so
You know,
curious.
do you guys remember how there was that one kid that committed suicide and he left?
Oh,
Do you know
I forget
he
her
left,
name.
like,
Leela.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. She left like an Instagram post or something.
It was a Tumblr post. It was a Tumblr suicide note. Yes.
And she wrote.
Leela.
She basically kind of made herself a martyr.
Yes.
For transgender kids.
Yes.
I wonder if that's somewhat tied to that
Oh.
because that was kind of big for
yeah,
Yeah.
Layla story. That would be great.
I wonder if potentially pulling in the Caitlyn Jenner thing, they have somebody who is like a kind of role model or big person in the trans community that kind of comes in, it gets involved in some way, either as giving advice or just like speaking about the issue in the news.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it where maybe it's new faces, because some of the transgender faces we've been seeing is like Laverne Cox or Caitlyn. So I would love to see more fresh faces, because I feel like people have seen them, know their stories. It would be great to see because this is dealing with kids.
Right, teens.
And that's more, I think that's a bigger issue, because you're having these adult transgenders who obviously have had life experiences, who have kind of already gone through it, and it's like stronger because they are adults.
Sure.
But they're really trying to relate to the younger kids. So I would personally love to see somebody who's a younger, fresh transgender face.
Yeah.
I think that might be very controversial.
Yeah.
Because with adults, that's already controversial. And, when you have, say, say a gender, Angelina Jolie's kid.
Shiloh.
Shiloh.
Who
People,
I believe is now going by John.
Yes. People are having issues with that.
Yeah.
People have issues with that. They really have issues with kids dictating who they are already.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this is wrong, and the parents, blah, blah, blah. But I would love to see younger people.
Yeah. I think that would be cool too, because I think obviously Caitlyn Jenner and Laverne Cox, like I love seeing them and stuff, but we do see them all over the place.
Yes.
So having some fresh faces for that would be cool.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting. I know that they have, on SVU, they've dealt with transgender youth a lot. They've been a bunch of different stories. And I'm excited to see them do a new story, something different. And maybe, I don't know, I would like them to be able to deal with it. I think at this point they deal with things differently than they used to. Way back in the first seasons, we'd have to deal with Stabler trying to wrap his mind around it. And I think now they are all in 2015 and can deal with it better.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens next week.
Yes.
Me too.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you have not already, make sure you're subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, everywhere. Also, make sure you're following AfterBuzz TV on Twitter and Instagram. And my lovely co-host, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Well, you guys can find me all over the internet, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere, at Lauren Salaun. That's spelled LaurenSalaun.
And Isabel.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Isabel Do, or on Instagram, which I do way more. Instagram, Isabel. Oh my gosh, have I been saying the wrong thing?
No.
Isabel.do, because somebody took Isabel Do.
Yeah, jerks. And if you want to follow me, I'm online at Yael.tv. That's YAEL.tv. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. You guys and your Snapchat.
Love Snapchat.
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those, everything, all of it. At Yael Tygiel, that's YAELTYGIEL. And we will see you here next week and every Thursday, 4 p.m. on AfterBuzz.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Dun dun!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.